All right, so let's talk Classic Plus. Classic Plus is something that's been on people's minds for quite some time now. When Season of Discovery released, people thought that was Classic Plus, except for me, of course. I said, no, that's not Classic Plus. People have been continuing to speculate. What could Classic Plus be? Is it coming? What should be in it? Should it be more like Turtle WoW instead of just a bunch of retail abilities added to Classic? So I'm going to give you my ideas. I've been playing WoW for 20 years. I've been playing Classic ever since the 29 re-release, and until present day, I didn't play Burning Crusade. I did not play Wrath Lich King. Did not play the Cataclysm re-release. Just play Classic Era because that's what I enjoy. This is like my 5th time filming this video. It's midnight now. The first one was kind of okay. The second one surely was perfect, but the audio was corrupt and it just sounded like screeching noises. The third one was pretty good. And then the fourth one, I deleted it by accident. Yeah. So here we go. Filming it for the 5th time here for midnight or past midnight. But anywho, let's get into this. I've predominantly played Warrior, but I've also dabbled with Mage, Pally, Rogue, and a little bit of Shaman. I have some pretty good ideas, but some of them might suck. Hey, it's, it's just my ideas, my opinions. If you like them, cool. If you don't, that's cool as well. But I appreciate a thumbs up anyways, because I really don't want to film this a 6th time. Hopefully I don't delete this video, and hopefully it turns out. Let's talk about Warrior first. So Warrior, in my opinion, Warrior is a perfect class. Whether it's, like, every spec is perfect. But there is an issue with Warrior, and the issue is it's really driven by weapon skill and race. So what we need to do is change some of the racials so that everyone gets a weapon skill. So let's talk about who should get which weapon skill. Currently, orcs get axes, humans get maces and swords. Why do humans get everything? Let's switch that up a little bit. Let's talk about dagger first. That's pretty easy and agreeable. Who's going to get dagger on Alliance? Well, we've got gnomes. They can use daggers. They're little people. They're going to use a little weapon. It's perfect. What about on the horde counterpart? Well, hunters, hunting knives, trolls. Okay, so troll warriors can now be dagger warriors should they want to specialize in that. Then we've got orcs with the axes. Who's going to get maces on horde? Well, Tauren are big, so surely they can wield maces. And that leaves Forsaken with swords, which makes sense because humans use swords, or they're specialized with sword, and then Forsaken are just dead humans, so we might as well let the dead ones have the proficiency with sword as well. So horde is figured out. It's super easy. What about dwarves? What should they get? Well, dwarves mining with a pickaxe. Okay, that makes sense. So dwarves can get axes. So there we have the dwarves getting the axes, the gnomes getting the daggers, the humans get the maces, but I think they need to give up sword, and sword goes to the elves, because we can't give dwarves maces and axes to elves, because elves, they want those beautiful high blades, those elven blades. I think it just makes sense. And instead of having this army of humans wearing swords, we could have an army of elves. All these pink dudes doing these sexual dances. I'm a night elf more. I think it'd be a much better fantasy world with less humans and more elves, gnomes, and dwarves. Now let's talk about warrior spells. I think they're all great. One thing I've considered is, what if we give Blood Rage the ability to put a dot on you instead of an instant damage? That way, if a mage is casting Polymorph on you, you just pop Blood Rage. Now for 5 seconds, you have a little bleed on you, and you're going to essentially become difficult to polymorph. That's just a thought I had. Maybe it's goofy, but warriors do get CC'd a lot, and this might help prevent polymorph. Mage changes. None. I think the mage class is perfect. They do crazy single target, fantastic AoE, and they're just nasty in PvP. So I don't think mage needs any changes. But Paladin, I do have some, I think, pretty good ideas for Paladin. So, Paladin tanking, it's a meme. How do we make it less of a meme? Well, right now, a Paladin just auto attacks, throws a consecration every now and then, and uses Greater Blessing of Kings. It's pretty tough on mana, and they don't have any like instant cast abilities other than like a Judgment, which is pretty long cooldown. It's kind of clunky. So my thought is that the 31 point talent needs to be redesigned. So Holy Shield currently, when you use it, your block chance is increased, and when they hit you and you block that attack, it deals some holy damage. But that requires them to be attacking you. So if they're not attacking you, it doesn't really do anything. What I think it should do is, let's still maintain it, increasing the block chance, because Pallies are about being a block tank. But let's make it do instant damage, and instead of costing mana, it's going to generate you mana. So when you deal damage, it's going to restore mana. How much? An amount. A little amount. I think that's going to be fantastic for threat, and it's going to be more engaging to hit that button and like do some damage. Whack! The Paladins, what else do they need? They need a taunt. Ideally, I think we should try to keep classic and not just give them a taunt. Instead, what we should do is redesign an ability that currently is not used, Seal of Justice. The only use Seal of Justice is used for is seal twisting, so that when you do, like, let's say a Seal of Command or Seal of Righteousness, you can use Seal of Justice at the last second, or vice versa, and both seal effects might happen at the same time. And so you could do your damage with Seal of Command, but also stun them. Fantastic. But the judging of the seal is trash. What the judging of the seal does is it prevents the mob from fleeing. Please comment below if you ever use it for that effect. I don't think anyone really does. But if people do, we could keep that effect and also make it a taunt. So when you judge Seal of Justice, now it's a taunt. Yes, it's a little bit clunky, but hey, it's classic. The game's a little clunky. Let's keep it feeling classic instead of just adding retail abilities, like Season of Shaman. Now, Holy Pally is a little bit of a one-dimensional whack-a-mole character. You're just flash-a-lighting. You're just healing your raid or your tank, whatever the case may be. And you Holy Shock every now and then. But what if we change Holy Shock a little bit? What if we add to Holy Shock that when you crit with Holy Shock, the cooldown is reset, and you could Holy Shock back to back to back as long as you're critting. And because Pallies really build around crit, a world buff Pally could often have 50% crit. I think that would be a really fun thing to do in raid for healing, but also for a spell damage Shockadin. I think it could create a really fun build in PvP. Now, as for ret DPS, and this is something I'm going to mention for several classes that are gods in PvP but weak in raid. I think we can't just give them Crusader Strike. I think they'd be too powerful, honestly. They would be way too powerful in PvP. I'm pretty sure Horde can attest to the fact that Pallies are kind of scary in PvP. So I don't know what the answer is to make them do more damage in a PvE environment. I'm honestly not sure. So sometimes I think we have to accept that a class is not that great in PvE, but they're fantastic in PvP. You heal and rage, you can do whatever the heck you want in the world. Maybe I'm wrong, maybe you don't agree with that, but that's just my opinion. And for priests, the same is true. They're so good at healing. We don't need to change priest as a healer. Maybe we can give all Alliance races Fear Ward, because as much as I love people being dwarves, some people want to be a night elf priest, and they should be able to do those front flips with glee and still get a raid spot. But Shadow Priest, I'm not sure how we can make them viable in PvE. We can take away the debuff limit. They can Shadow Word Pain, but I just don't think they're going to ever really be brought to a raid. Yeah. If there's some sort of... it's tough, man. It's tough. I don't have a great answer. But let's talk about Warlock, because I do have an idea to make Warlock a bit better in PvE without making them an unstoppable god. Well, wait. They already are an unstoppable god in PvP, but you get the point. So currently, the meta is that Warlock is a support class, and we still need that to happen. We need to fulfill that curse requirement. But what if they were able to cast a curse and it went on to everybody around them? So we have Amplify Curse. That's already an ability, and it's a 3-minute cooldown, and it just makes your Curse of Exhaustion stronger. I think it also helps a different curse, like Curse of Agony, but you don't really use it for that. Also, a really cool ability that Warlocks do not have, but NPCs have, is Shadow Bolt Volley. Now, what if we can give Warlock Shadow Bolt Volley and a way to do AoE curses? So, my thought, based on the common selections for PvP spec Warlocks, is that they never go very deep into the Affliction tree. So just in case doing AoE curses becomes too overpowered in PvP, we can make that a deep talent that only a PvE Warlock is going to want to take. Because otherwise they're not going to be able to go like Soul Link or get Conflag. They're not going to want to do deep Affliction. So maybe what we can do for the 31 point talent is make that the Amplify Curse talent, or give it whatever name you want it to do. But what it does is it's a passive, and it makes your curses always affect all nearby targets that are in combat, so it doesn't pull stuff within like a 10-yard range. And it also needs to increase the Warlock's damage by 10%, because otherwise Warlocks are going to have to choose between AoE curses or Demonic Sacrifice. And we need to be able to, I think, allow them to keep the damage, but also not make them a curse bot by going curse to all these different mobs. And then the 21 point talent could be Shadow Bolt Volley, and we just get rid of Dark Pact, because Dark Pact sucks. And then that way people can they can do a curse. You know, the Warlock can do their curse, everyone's cursed. Now they can do Shadow Bolt Volleys, they can AoE. I think it'd be more interesting. Hunter, this is another class, very strong in PvP. And in Raid, they're just pullers. How can we make them stronger without making them unbalanced in PvP? That'd be very difficult. And then what we could do for Mongoose Bite is just make it a 6-second cooldown, because currently the Hunter is required to dodge an attack, and let's just make it a 6-second cooldown. Now, Druid, I have some pretty nifty ideas. However, not for Resto Druid. Essentially, the healing meta needs to change in order to be able to bring the specs to Raid in the first place. Alliance wants to bring lots of priests, 3 Pallies, and then 1 Druid. Horde wants to bring lots of Shamans, 3 or 4 priests, and a druid. In order to bring more druids, you need to remove the buff cap so they can hot to their content. They need to have multiple of the same hots on them, not just one rejuve, but multiple hots. And that might allow the raid to bring less shamans or priests based on the Alliance versus Horde faction, so that druids can help with AoE healing. But it's still tricky. Because then in order to want to bring a resto druid over a shaman means you need to bring a shaman as a DPS, enhancement, or elemental. And those specs would need to be able to do enough damage to compete with a warrior. So it's a lot of moving parts. To bring a druid, it's okay, we'll bring the druid. They can do the same raid healing as a shaman, but now we need another shaman who's going to be DPS to drop the totem instead of a warrior. And they need to do enough damage. Can they do it? And then we got to be careful about overpowering them in PvP. So that's the tricky part with the druid. But I got a great idea, I think, for feral druid DPS, and that is their single targets, it's okay. But their AoE sucks. So druids have 2 bear forms. They have their low-level bear form, and then they have a higher-level bear form that's just more health, more armor. Let's just give the low-level bear form the effects of dire bear form, which is the more armor, more health. Get that at low-level 10. Then dire bear form now becomes the DPS bear form. It increases your attack power, and it's no longer an increased threat. And then when you want to do cleave, you go to the damage bear form, swipe, swipe, swipe. And when you want to go kitty cat for single target, you go claw, claw, claw. That's my thoughts for druid. Now, what do DPS and tank druids lack? A cooldown. The Blackwing Lair trinket is horrible. Instead of reducing the mana cost of shapeshifting by 100%, let's, for 10 seconds, reduce energy costs in kitty cat form by 50%, and let's, in bear form, be a life-giving, armor-increasing type defensive trinket. For Boomkin, we can definitely make Hurricane have no cooldown, be just like Blizzard. But as for single target, it's the same thing of worried about making them too powerful in PvP. Because Boomkins can just like kite and do all this crazy stuff. And I'm just fearful of, like, Mage is strong because of Ignite. 40% of their damage is Ignite. And if they can just keep rolling that, that's why Mages are so strong. But Boomkin's like, how do we make Boomkin strong but not overpowered in PvP? Like we saw in Season of Discovery. Shaman, the last class. So I've already kind of talked a little bit about, like, I think it's tricky to buff these classes and make them strong without making them overpowered in PvP. So essentially, I've seen elemental shamans in raid do number 2 and 3 damage in AQ40. They were popping world buffs, but I don't think the warrior they were competing against were. So anyways, it's tough. It's tough. How do we make them do more damage but not be overpowered in PvP? I don't have a great solution for that. If you do, I'd love to know. But Resto Shaman doesn't need any changes. They're very strong. Lastly, I want to talk about a couple trinket changes. Paladins do not have a defensive. But the Zul'Gurub trinket is not good. It just increases holy crit for like 3% for a little bit. What if it was like a mini shield wall? 30% reduction in damage taken for 10 seconds, 5-minute cooldown. That's pretty cool. The Shaman trinket's a joke. What it does is it increases your damage done of lightning shield. There's already so many healing trinkets. Do we really need to make another healing trinket for a Shaman? you could come up with something like make your chain heal for the next 5 chain heals, heal 5 targets instead of 3. But I think something interesting, like what about it resets the Storm Strike cooldown. Storm Strike is a 20-second cooldown. What if, similar to the Hunter Trinket that resets multi-shot, it resets Storm Strike. Honestly, Storm Strike should be probably like a 10-second cooldown. I think 20 seconds seems... You just auto attack, Storm Strike, and shock. I think a 10-second cooldown would be better. Warlock Trinket, I'm not sure the answer to this one, but it just adds 10% crit to destruction spells. Feels pretty lame. I'm sure there's an interesting rework. Do you have any ideas for that? Warrior Trinket gives you 30 rage on demand. What if the Warrior Trinket, in addition to giving 30 rage, also gave you a bit of strength? Something like that. Hunter Trinket for Blackwing Lair does arcane shot damage. I really don't know the answer here. What do you want to do? Any bright ideas for Hunter? Warlock Trinket, it makes their pet do more damage. The one from Blackwing Lair. It seems like a really cool trinket. The Black Book. You're literally reading this demonic book. You're like flipping the pages, casting spells, super warlocky stuff. I don't know. Give it spell haste like Mind Quickening Gem. I know it's copying it, but what else are you gonna do? Do you have any ideas? Lastly, Druids. They love their manual crowd pummeler. Like, what do? Do we give Finkles from Molten Core the manual crowd pummeler effect? Do we make an engineering item? Do we give them catnip? That seemed like a great idea. That's the only good idea from Season of Discovery. Anyways, those are my ideas. I think this is the quickest version of the film video. If you made it to the end, let me know your thoughts. They're just ideas. It's 1 in the morning. I'm going to bed. See ya. If you enjoyed the video, drop me a sub and a comment. Catch me live on my Twitch channel, Dwarf Lord TV, to connect with me or say hi to me in game on any of my characters. Dwarf Lord out.
And they say that the Dwarf Lord could save us. I'm not gonna pave here and wait. I'll hold on to the beard of the Dwarf Lord. Watch as we